Welcome, everybody, to the Austin Moss Show. We're live here with Jannae and Alaia with Cyphr AI. And we're going to dive into a lot of the things here on the show. We talk, we get a little deeper. We talk business, we talk entrepreneurship journeys, we talk a lot of the mindsets. But I really, I think with the internet these days and ChatGPT and everything, I think people can look you guys up and know enough, high level, what Cyphr is, what you guys are about. So I kind of want to take this and really pull out a lot from what you guys have done in your life and your journey, and I'm excited about it. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. Jannae, if you want to kind of start here, where you came from and what got you into this Cyphr world, right? I mean, the people don't just fall into what you're doing, right? So maybe give it a little background on
that. So I'm Jannae Gammage. I am the CEO of Cyphr. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 14. So entrepreneurship fell in my lap. You're right. Cyphr did not. As an entrepreneur that has been operating in that mindset since a young teen, when I see a problem that I actually am passionate about fixing and that I feel like, serves me as a person and it makes sense, then I just go after it. So that's kind of how Cyphr happened.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Alaia Martin, COO, Jannae's co-founder of Cyphr. I came from an entrepreneurship background in that my parents were entrepreneurs. And I saw them building a business and expanding a business and worked directly for them. So I think I always knew that's what I wanted to do. But I took the opposite route initially, got an MBA in finance and went to work for a top 5 bank for a while. In lending and risk and financial forecasting. So that was good while I was there, but got tired of just being this piece in a corporate space. This was joining Jannae at Cyphr was an opportunity to really create some impact and be on the opposite side of that. So that's how I ended up here.
Love it. Well, congrats. Yeah, I've gotten to know you guys a little bit prior to this, which I don't always get, and amazing people. And just your spirits and just everything about your mindset and just everything is rare. Thanks. And I love bringing that out and having those relationships. So diving in, let's get into that kind of on the, partnership side. So I have partnerships with a lot of companies, right? And partnerships are fickle and they're, I play the mental ping pong of, I hate having partners. And then, oh my gosh, I love this partner, and it's this whole thing. So you guys just click so well and mesh so well. What do you attest that to? Is that just kind of coincidence? Is that things lining up? Did you guys know each other before this? Like, where did this perfect partnership kind of come about?
Man, one is like divine for the listeners, readers, whomever, watchers. If you believe in God, the universe, whomever you believe in, the higher power, I really believe this is like predestined. We were supposed to meet. We were supposed to work together and be building something like this. Just because all of the things that had to come together for us to even meet, it kind of validated like, all right, this is the person. And then when you get in a situation, I mean, as you know, you work with partners and so do we. The initial stage is really like double dutch, like should we, shouldn't we, let me watch, let me do this, and it was just like an instant click. And yes, we did know each other before we started actually working on this together, but we were sitting on a board together. So initially we knew we had the same values around how we wanted to show up in the world. We were both entrepreneurs. She was in the financial literacy space for kids, something kids I would never ever try to work with. So obviously she's got some type of patience and heart for that. And then, the projects that we were helping each other on and advising each other on, it was so organic that it just transitioned to where it's at. And I think that's a big key to a lot of people say, oh, you're good at this and I'm good at this. We're partners now. And that's like not, I mean, sometimes it will work that way. Yeah.
100 plus.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Can
like
you communicate? Are you self-aware? And I think the best partnerships, regardless of how you match, on the gaps and the risk and the strengths and the weaknesses, is about your ability to be self-aware and like how you're showing up in a partnership and keeping the big picture, the big idea, like as the North Star, not letting oh, I'm mad at you today, or I didn't like how you said this, and all that. Is this a rated G?
This can be marked mature. Audience.
Yeah, I've spoken a lot.
It's going to come out eventually.
Yeah, because I have to.
Don't hold back. Don't hold back.
Okay.
It's going to come from me, and I'm sorry. I was going to say you're going to need an explicit filter, but I'm going to try to taper it down. The only thing I have to add to that is we found out really early on that it was just so easy because we really complemented each other on our strengths and what we really liked doing. So if my job had to be doing media, talking to investors all day, talking to customers all, like, I just would not succeed in that. And she is genius at that, at connecting with people, at relaying the mission, and getting people on board. She's so amazing at that. And I love to be in the business side. Like, I don't love anything more than like forecasting and numbers
Details.
and capacity planning and all the stuff other people hate. I love, and then actually getting in there and building products. So it just, everything that we were both strong at just really complemented really well. So we're lucky.
I love it. Yeah, that's something that made me think about, when you look at partnerships, of how seamless it falls in place, right? If I've seen things too where you see a lot of friction constantly, and not maybe one good thing, or two good things, and you're like, is it really worth it? And there's like so many opportunities out there that you from an urgency and I want things now. It's like, I want to do something. This person could work, and it's taking that time to slow down and be self-aware. Self-awareness, I think, is the biggest thing that I've learned over the years of how can I be the best partner, which then in turn allows them to be a good partner. So I want to pivot and kind of dive deeper into, I've been in and around the lending finance ecosystem for about 11 years now. I love it. I love that I'm in the alternative space and not the banking space, right? Because my creative brain, like, there is so much opportunity and so many things not being done that can and should be being done by people that have the capacity to do it, right? And it's all around empowering the small business owner. And I just feel you guys, like, when I first connected with you guys and saw what you guys were building and built, I'd never seen it. And I'm a pretty tech forward, innovative person in the alternative lending, business lending space. And so that's why I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are doing some cool stuff, some cool shit, right? Yeah. And so dive into a little bit about that and kind of that lens on things of where you think about now, historically, in the future, when it comes to lending and banking and automation, where your guys' heads are at, because you guys are probably most primed talking about this stuff, sitting in that ecosystem in the middle there.
Yeah, I think you touched on it briefly, is, the industry finance, and where I think AI, because AI is really spelled DATA, right?
What do you...
Data.
Oh, data. Okay. I didn't know if you were going an acronym on data.
No. Yes.
Okay, we're back.
Okay. You hit the nail, or touched on it briefly, about, the borrower. And I think the industry has been wanting to move towards, and has needed to move towards for a long time, a borrower-centric experience as opposed to an institution-centric. So AI gives us kind of that capability to do that. It hasn't been safe to be focused holistically just on the borrower and how we can get money into their hands. It's had to be, how can we give money to them while also protecting what we're doing, also using this checklist that we're supposed to abide by, and also doing this and this and this and this. And then, of course, by the end of the road, 80% of those borrowers or whomever is not going to get access to that capital. So AI, and how people, the population, general population, has just adopted it so quickly thanks to ChatGPT. And that is literally the tip of the iceberg for the capabilities with AI. And AI has always been around, believe it or not. I know ChatGPT, it feels new, but like, AI is essentially if this, then that, and it's manipulating data to do what you tell it to do. So I'm a data analyst by trade, and one of the biggest problems in the industry is just having access to all of this data and not knowing how to use it or what to do with it. And that's how AI allows us to be productive. That's the type of model that we've created, is how can we turn this data into intelligence that an institution can use. It's usable, it's readable, it's not just information that's fed to me, but I can actually make a decision, and I can have this borrower-centric experience and still feel protected and check all those boxes that I needed to check. So I think, right now the world knows AI is like being able to have a conversation and search the web for you. That is very basic and rudimentary. What we're doing is taking it a step further, but we're specifically focused on this type of case study, which is getting money into, right now, small businesses, but money movement, period, risk-free, bias-free. And that is the true potential of like applied AI that we're seeing right now for the finance industry. And I know as the numbers person, Alaia has a lot of insight. I'm all about the people, and she knows the details that I don't know, but I'll go ahead and pass the mic.
I feel like we could talk about AI for this entire time.
We could.
And I'd be happy to do it. So implementing AI has been a little bit daunting for us. Like you said, it's been around so long, but it's something that is going to change what the financial industry looks like. We're hoping that it changes it to make it more equitable and less biased, like she said, because bias is something that's been so long standing in the financial industry. It's so hard to get around. And the implementation.
Talk through the biases. Like for people that don't know, if is there maybe if you've tried borrowing money and you probably know already, but just from your perspective, what's wrong with the biases that are out there, and how can that change safely?
So there's human-centered, of course, bias, meaning if you applied for a loan previously, you probably had to walk into a branch, sit down, look at somebody, and present your financials. The problem is within the first 2 seconds of you entering that transaction, somebody had made a decision about you, and that is just impossible to get around. That's bias based on everyone they've encountered, based on their own personal beliefs and values. That human-centered piece is something that AI can help address and reduce. But then AI introduces its own biases in that it's being trained on data sets that may be based on completely similar data. So anybody that falls outside of that is instantly a victim to that bias. So it's not fitting the risk model or the financial model that they're hoping to see. And that could be anything from a non-traditional business where they have seasonal revenue that's not, or they're just building subscription revenue. So it looks very dicey, but really it has this huge potential. There's bias in all of those things. So in using AI to be the first touch that looks at transactions, looks at the business, creates this holistic view, you're reducing that human bias, and you can never take the human out of the loop, but the AI is giving them this holistic picture with real-time enriched data, a real-time enriched view of what this business is and could be, and it's moving away from those old, what's your credit score, what's your own history, what's your financial history, and moving towards seeing the true potential of companies.
I love that. And being in alternative lending, we see that, right? Yeah. And we see good borrowers that pay back that were considered subprime businesses. We see very prime bankable businesses default when everything looked perfect, right? And not just one-offs, right? Sometimes at scale. And so I get what you're saying there, was like, the data related to a specific vertical or industry isn't static and can't be used static across every industry, every state, every credit band, every, EBITDA range or whatever, right? And so we have to deal with that every day in our business. But from the banking world, what across the masses are they doing now, and how can AI help shift that as it relates to the experience as a business owner going through what they're going through traditionally in the past and kind of somewhat now, but where do you see how that could transition, hopefully? And then what does it look like on the negative if it doesn't get adopted on the banking side?
I can take some of that and then I'll kick it to you because I know you have a lot to say about that. I think right now and what we're focused on is not only streamlining the process, but making it not so disjointed, not so much of a process where you're never really getting the full picture. And what I mean by that is right now, the entire banking process is disjointed. Even banks and financial institutions don't talk to each other. Other lenders don't talk to each other. The credit bureaus don't necessarily talk to them the way that they need to. And even the application process within one financial institution is so disjointed and slow and inefficient. So the real big quick win for AI is to streamline that entire process to make it easier for the borrower, because making it accessible and easy and not super time consuming does make it more equitable. It means more people will go through the process, more people will get the consideration that they need. So for me, that's the first piece of integrating AI and changing what's been happening in banking. The second bigger piece, and then I'll get to you for this, is creating this interconnected system, which I kind of touched on. I think that instead of it being so competitive, instead of it being us against them, or instead of it being dumb money versus institutional money, all the things that are really pervasive in the financial world, along with the bias and everything else, I think making it an interconnected system where money is truly moving freely. It's moving where it should. It's stimulating the economy because it's going to small businesses who we know generate so much of global GDP, but still find it so hard to get funding. I think it's necessary for the economy to move the way that it needs to move in the next decade. So if that doesn't happen, then we're seeing more turmoil. We're seeing more businesses close. We're seeing replays of what we've seen in previous years. So
yeah, appreciate that.
I mean, you.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't know what else.
You got anything else to add to that?
sorry, I said a lot.
Ditto.
I know some of your numbers, and I was just shocked. Not shocked. I mean, once I got to know you guys, I wasn't as shocked, and it makes more sense. But I want other people to hear, because without going into the actual numbers, but for you guys launching in, what was it, February of this year, 24?
Yeah, we went to market in February.
And we're right at about 9 months from then. Mm-hmm. And for the ARR that you guys are doing in your company is crazy. Mm-hmm. What do you guys attest that to? And I know you're just scratching the surface, which is exciting, right? But what do you attest that to? Thinking from, there's a lot of venture SaaS companies, tech companies, founders, people that want to do what you guys are doing and have passion for it. They just haven't done it yet, right? And maybe some tips and insights into that of what made it for you guys that you can pinpoint if you can.
Yeah, we get asked this so often, more often than not. And it's always, it goes back to customer discovery. So we launched this year's 2024. We started this company in 2022, and we wrote the first line of code, at the end of last year. Like, wow. We were talking to people, building relationships, which turned into our go-to-market strategy, which was channel partners. You know a lot about that. We're partners in a similar way.
Yeah.
So it, for me, data is my driving force between making decision making, and I wasn't willing to put everything I had and risk everything that those around me that were willing to come on board and just even invest. Like Alaia started out advisor, investor, co-founder, like that. That was a build up. So I wanted to make sure that I was attacking it the right way. I knew it was a huge problem, and so many people had tried to solve it. There was no way I could come in and just kind of do the same thing. Or if I was going to do the same thing, it had to be exponentially better. And I definitely had to have the credibility and logos of those who had been operating in this space for a while. And I just wanted to learn from them anyway. I don't think there will ever be a day where I'm not striving to learn something new or figure out your perspective about what I'm, the problem I'm solving, or your perspective, or Alaia's perspective. So that really, before we came to market, we had a list of institutions and big banks and partners who were just like, yeah, let's do this. We are with you. We understand what you're saying. You're absolutely right. And getting that validation gave us the confidence to just kind of attack it and say, all right, I think we've done the work. Like, we can confidently say we're doing this right. This is a big problem to solve. We are going to build a decacorn here as long as we execute right and get the right team, which we haven't always done.
part of it.
That team thing,
You got one good
that
team member right
managing
here.
people thing,
This is a
man.
good team. This is the only team that matters.
If we could
really,
carry,
right?
if we could carry this company with just the two of us, never mind. I probably wouldn't do that either. But yeah, anything else?
No, I do want to add we have such a solid team now. We're so proud of them. So we've attracted some amazing talent.
Yeah.
Love it.
But yeah, no.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. Customer discovery and channel partners.
Customer discovery and channel partners is
and
your
it's not
key.
even a secret. It's in every business 101, startup 101 class you can find on the internet. So I don't.
Well, there's a lot of things that are there, right?
I was going to say people don't listen.
Yeah, I was 17. I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's what set me on this journey of entrepreneurship. But did I do everything in that book every day? No.
Nah.
Did I forget 99% of that book? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so having those reminders is always good for me too. And, you know, I listen to podcasts of people that talk about, I feel like maybe some similar stuff that I talk about, but it's just when I can hear it from other people's perspectives and, you know, being open to the self-awareness. Like you said, I loved what you said there as far as you're so successful. And we've talked about, you know, how confidence and ego and some of the positive narcissistic traits that fall into a type A entrepreneur and how you can balance that with self-awareness.
Yep.
There's that self-awareness ingredient to that is a huge game changer in entrepreneurs. And when they make that shift, and I noticed because I was playing the game, right, the business pre-post, understanding ego and self-awareness. And so I just love that you guys are there, and I think that attests to a lot of it as well. From
Took some
an outside
time for
perspective.
me, but I said it took some time.
Took some
for
time,
me.
still taking time.
Some therapy and some, you know, reality checks from people I trust.
And that's good. I mean, having those trusted, authentic, honest relationships is key. It's huge. Okay, diving into a little bit about the data side. In here. So we just partnered up actually Capital Collab and you guys on the Data for Good. So maybe talk about the Data for Good and what the initiatives are there and what you're excited about.
Yeah, another thing that just came together on its own, I think, from just conversations, us having individual goals about how we make impact with Cypher, having to balance like, okay, this is a company, a business that has to make money, but also how can we reach back with the limited resources we have. I truly don't feel like we're in this large position where we can reach back much, but how much can we reach back and what does that mean? How can we use the resources that we have to continue to make a larger impact, work with other people? So we came up with this program called Data for Good, where essentially we are having either our partners pay for small businesses to get access to the data that only we can provide to really understand where they're at, or paying for an entrepreneur support organization to help these small businesses, or, you know, just signing up at a discounted rate if you have like an impact plan or some type of plan to reach minority and underserved communities, small business owners who don't traditionally have access to capital. If you have set your mission statement or an initiative up with that, then you're a candidate to work with us on the Data for Good program. But for us, it's really about how can we get money into the hands of small businesses. We don't do loans. How can we enable those loans? And that was kind of the origin story of that. And then we, you know, ChatGPT helped make the guidelines, and here we are.
Love it.
Our third
co-founder
at the company.
Yeah.
Your third co-founder?
ChatGPT.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of people's co-founders. They don't have to pay them.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Yeah.
$20 a month.
$20.
Yeah.
Best investment you'll ever make.
Perfect. The
Yeah.
ROI is crazy.
All right, here's a key. If you have not downloaded and paid the $20 okay. If you have not downloaded and paid the $20 to sign up on ChatGPT, you're a freaking idiot.
I wonder if they have a referral program. You should be getting paid for that plug.
OpenAI, my girl over there I'm working with, you can hook it up. Appreciate it. But no, it's a game changer, and you know, people think about it, and they learn about it from a conversation and text format and aggregating large amounts of data. where have you guys seen AI in just a general business sense? Forget about lending and numbers and tech and, credit, all that stuff, but just from an operational scaling, all the different other verticals within a business in general, with your expertise in AI, I'm sure you guys are doing stuff there as well, right?
Yeah. So using it operationally within the business?
Yeah. Just outside of your product set and then your code and everything.
Productivity.
Yeah. It makes us so much more productive. For me, when it's something that I normally would have spent 12 hours going down some rabbit hole on the internet, is whether that's best practices, whether that's trying to be really lean with our cash, because this is how I used it probably the most in the last year. I'm trying to be really lean. How can I set this, and this up? When you're starting.
What's an example of that?
So
people
when
can
you're
kind of understand that.
So operationally, when you're starting, especially when you are scaling very quickly, you have cash coming in, you have so many needs, you need 700 softwares, but you can't necessarily pay $500 a month for this and $200 a month for this. And so operationally, I think having it help me deep dive into, hey, businesses that are similar to ours in this similar stage that have about this amount of funding, this amount of free cash flow, what are they using? How are they setting up and staying really lean internally? Because if you don't, you will burn through your cash in the form of payments to 100 different softwares. It's very easy to do. So it's that. It's helping me even forward look at revenue. Here are my assumptions. I'm looking at the economy as a whole. I'm looking at legal repercussions, compliance needs. I'm looking at everything. What am I missing? And it'll research. You can't rely on that technical answer completely, but it saves you hundreds of hours of research. It can, highlight some blind spots for sure. Even with compliance, I've gone in and said, what am I not seeing? Here's our business model in general. Without putting in any sensitive data, please don't put your sensitive data into ChatGPT. But without putting in anything super sensitive, what am I missing? what am I not aware of? So for us, it's everything from financial planning to capacity planning to, how can we be better founders? How can we let's bounce this idea off of you, help us write it better and make it more appealing.
I love when you say blind spots. I use it for blind spots. I think that's huge. If people could just take that away of put in there what your strategy is, what you're doing, and give it some depth, and then asking it. And that's what I've been using it for too, is tracking those blind spots. Or is there a better way that at a quick glance, we don't know what we don't know. And so if there's something that could prompt something where I don't have to go down a journey, like you said, 12 hours later, you're not even on social media either. And you're 12 hours diving down into something that wasted so much of your time. And as entrepreneurs, time is huge. Anything you have to add, Jannae, on how you guys are using ChatGPT?
As the mouthpiece of Cypher, my favorite prompt is think like an investor. And then blah, 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 blah. So just getting feedback before entering meetings, copying, pasting my script for a pitch event or whatever's coming up in there and saying, hey, make this sound a little bit more, because my thoughts are it's very hard to, it's very easy to get caught up saying, this is the perfect pitch. It worked here and, it sounds good to me, and I feel like I've hit the key points. And then when you say that key word, that key prompt, show this or read this back to me like an investor. What's missing? What do you think about this company? Would you invest in this company? And they're like, nah.
No.
It's because I'm not hitting the points. And then maybe if you said this, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, we have that. I mean, why didn't you just say that, ChatGPT? And then, refining it. I think one of my biggest weaknesses with pitching is just understanding what I should be talking about, not getting lost in the details. A lot of people don't understand LLMs. They don't understand why this is a big problem if you don't have that banking experience. When we had our first conversation, you immediately, you got it. Yes, this is, you guys are on the right track because you've been in this space. Investors are investors. They are in the space of, is this a big idea? Does it hit these marks? Like, do I believe that these founders can pull it off? And sometimes if you don't say the right thing in that right moment, it's a miss. So I just always want to make sure that when I'm communicating Cypher, that I'm giving it the best opportunity to get funding, get a partner, get a customer, whatever that may be. And ChatGPT helps a lot with that. So
yeah,
it's been great.
No, I love it. I was talking to a partner on our fund, and he was like, "What did we do before ChatGPT? We were on a co-share."
Literally.
I was like, "I don't know.
How do we
man.
write?
I have no idea."
I don't remember.
How did I write things?
And then I went back and I'm like, man, what does English class and stuff look like now? You know,
Writing papers.
And I don't want to look at that because then I start thinking about what year I graduated, and that's too long ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So diving in, so you'd mentioned something earlier, and I actually have an episode coming out with around decentralization of data, and you kind of put that warning out there of, even though you're paying for the subscription on ChatGPT and it says that it's not using your data, right? Talk through like data, privacy data, your security on your data. We're talking a lot about data and ingesting data and dynamically and evergreen. What are some of the things that you guys think about when it comes to privacy and security in that world? Because that's really where a lot of the differences of opinions, you know, whether it's political, whether it's regulation, as this starts to really grow, and it's going to grow regardless, right? Like, I think we've all seen that. I think everyone's okay and adopted it, but it's putting those guardrails and understanding, you know, how can we not get because there's potential for bigger damages, right? When you add AI in, without being a software engineer or coder, I know that just in an obvious sense, but you guys probably see it from a different lens. So how do you guys think about data and privacy and security when it relates to AI?
Yeah. Let me take that. I'll take that.
The security
Just
person.
want to make sure.
We'll do both of you on this one. I'm curious to hear what you both have on this.
Yeah. This is probably what keeps me up at night more than anything else. As far as just the road forward, there's the idea of data privacy is shifting with the adoption of AI, because it's almost an oxymoron at this point. There will be no privacy. Part of that is great. There's increased transparency. For us as business owners, as companies, we're still subject to very strict data laws, which does make it tricky. So even incorporating AI into your product, which is kind of where I'll skew this to, is it used to just be the handling of data, the storage of data. How is it flowing? How are we, when are we deleting it? Like, very straightforward. Now it's a lot trickier, and it's consumer focused, which it should be. Thank God there's CFPB and all these organizations to help try to protect consumers. But from our standpoint, and anybody else that's looking at building AI into their product, I think you have to look at it backwards as worst case scenario. What kind of damage could I cause? If we're not careful, if this isn't structured right, what kind of damage could we truly cause our consumers, the business, anything else? And data leaks are horrible. We've all been part of them. We will never be part of a data leak. That's our number one priority.
The amount of mail pieces I get for free monitoring, I'm like, I don't even pay attention anymore. I get them so often. I'm like, I'm just whatever. My data's out there. It's going to be out there. Whatever.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, but it's something that's at the forefront of everything we're building. We have dedicated engineers just to make sure that our data is secure. But like I said, it feels like data privacy is really shifting. In a world where every company sells your data, we do not. We pride ourselves on that. That is not part of our business model now or ever. In the future is to just blatantly sell people's data for cash. But at that point, you have to assume that all of your data is out there, it's accessible, and do business with companies that you trust to protect it as much as I can. So that's really what we're trying to do. And that is, with AI, it's the ethical implementation is a huge thing. We want to make sure that AI is helping to enhance the process, it's helping to reduce bias, it's helping to do all of these things, but that it's also transparent and auditable, and that we can look to it and say, this AI is making responsible decisions, responsible outputs, and to be able to show that to consumers and to businesses. So to us, that ethical implementation piece is huge.
Love it. Love it. Anything to add? Privacy? No?
No.
All right.
Protect you.
So so I know what sports did you play?
Basketball and tennis. Forced to play tennis
That's
by
kind
my
of how
mom.
I played basketball and 5th grade tennis lesson.
Exactly.
And 5th grade bowling league. And
Wow. Yeah, I did bowling too.
you
Forgot
do
about
bowling?
Yeah.
Really?
Middle school.
I didn't know that.
That's funny.
I
We
still
got
don't
we
know
have
You've
a
seen me bowl.
we have a
I look
dartboard
like a
set up over
professional.
here. And first time Jannae and I met, she saw my dartboard and challenged me. So
Yeah. I think I have to be a little tipsy though in order to actually beat you. I've never played not at a bar.
I sound
just-
hear excuses.
That Red Bull's going to have to do.
Yeah.
So basketball. So because I want to pull something out here because I see a lot of similarities. Like I always remember back, when I graduated, Enterprise was like so popular for hiring athletes, right? Because of their pedigree and the things that they had to go through to be an athlete, just in general, right? Practices and doing just. It's not hard or difficult, and it's common for the most sense, right? But it does add a layer to an entrepreneur, I feel, when they have that background as an athlete. And Alaia, what did you play sports? I know you're go mom right now.
Yeah, but back in the day.
Back in the day,
a lot of
whatever.
sports, swimming and diving. I was a competitive gymnast for a lot of years until my body betrayed me. And a boxer.
A boxer.
So, yeah.
What boxing? I took like 5 title boxing classes, so
Oh.
I'm not. You say you're a boxer, so what kind of boxing did you do?
Yeah, so I actually learned to box at the Boys and Girls Club. I spent a lot of time there as a kid, and there was just not that much to do.
Yeah.
So I started boxing really young, then just started fighting, even though I never wanted to fight. I just wanted something fun to do. Worked my way up to a Golden Gloves title.
Sheesh.
A
So
Golden
that's
Glove.
like my crowning
Golden
achievement in
Gloves.
sports, I guess.
That's awesome. Amazing. Congratulations
But yeah,
on that.
but we've talked a lot about athletes, and
Yeah.
to us, if you've it sounds bad, but if you've never played a team sport, I'm kind of like, because
Yeah.
it really does lend something to
Yeah.
your character, to your development, in your early
Yeah.
years, I think. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The golfer, tennis, solo sport people are.
they're still athletes, but we love to see a
There's
good
doubles.
team
Slaughters a
There's
sport.
little
doubles in tennis.
Yeah, yeah. So, what are some things you guys have coming up? What are you excited about? We're going into the holidays, but what do you guys have going on next year? Closing out this year. I mean, you guys are moving quick. If I
Yeah.
talk to a company, the founders, it's a 10-year-old company. That answer's probably chilling with his family,
Yeah.
doing something.
Yeah.
But I understand entrepreneurship. I understand startups, and going from where you guys started at to where you're already at now. There's a lot of things happening, I'm sure. So, what are you guys excited about?
I actually am excited for time with family because this is the only time that we really take a break is Christmas. And my family comes to visit, and we have a tradition of going to Christmas Chiefs games and stuff like that, eating, party bus, looking at the lights. So it's really cool. I look forward to it every year. But I do have a little travel left. We'll announce the raise.
You said the raise?
Yeah, we'll announce the raise.
The raise.
Slid it in
We'll
there.
announce the raise with some of our investors. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So I'm an investor already, by the way, but I'm maybe wanting to get a little more. So, but no,
We'll take more
I'm
money.
excited about what you guys are doing, and
Yeah.
I'm excited a little selfishly because of my world in business lending, and I don't know if I look at it exactly the same as you guys do, but I think similarly in the fact that I see it from boots on the ground in my team that's trying to work with these entrepreneurs. And I know you guys have a lot of clients as well outside of working with us, but the banks do it well in a regional banks, credit unions. They have their local area. I think with us seeing a national footprint and seeing the issues and the problems across all loan types, all lender types, it's complex, right? And I even talked to other lending platforms and tech platforms and brokers in the space that could be viewed as competitors, right? And you guys mentioned this earlier, is a lot of banks and lenders view everyone as like, we have the secret sauce. And the amount of times I've heard a lender say that they have, and I think you mentioned this too, that because I consult and do some credit facility stuff for alternative lenders, and the amount of times that they think that they have some magic sauce in the way they underwrite, and it's like everybody's using that same data for the most part. Yeah. And that's what excited me again about you guys, is that you look at it, everyone looks at it, well, what if you look at it a little bit this way, a little off, still do all the same things but better.
Exactly.
Right. And so from that standpoint, realizing what this could look like for a business owner when you're talking in 2030, right? And you could I see it as a conglomerate of just credit, right? I see a lot of private credit funds. I see direct credit funds. I see a lot of that moving into the family offices space and into the alternative fund space and insurance companies and securitizations. And that's a worrisome thing if I'm sitting in a bank board shoes, right? So how much longer do they really have to make this change? Because there's riding off of low cost of capital as your main thing, it will only work for so long. And we've seen it in our ecosystem over the last 10 years, where you'll look at Midwest and nobody's taking alternative lending. You look at the coast, it's starting a little bit, right? And then every year I've seen this, and being at a lot of the conferences like Money 2020 and Lendit and Opal Group stuff, I start to see these trends over 10 years of banks and fintechs butting heads, right? 4, 5, 6 years ago, even up to like 3 years ago. And now it's like banks are like, there's people who are going to just go around us.
COVID
and so now you start
it.
seeing these partnerships, but kind of. It's not like they're tiptoeing. And I think the difference, and so is it feasible that by 2030 that a business borrower can go through a loan process like I do for a credit card? That simple?
Absolutely. I think it's already happening for those that are really aggressive about digitizing the process and modernizing the process and the way they do operations. COVID exposed, all of the gaps in the industry in literally like 2 months. So that was a big eye opener for a lot of CEOs, from the largest banks to the smallest CDFI in the nation. Like, they all realized we all have this problem. Fintechs came in and took 40% of the market in 2 years after COVID, which is crazy. Like, if we were to come in and say, we have half the market as a tech startup, everyone would say, right, that's like impossible. How did you do that in a year? But it's happening, and you're working with these lenders. And I think it's also very clear now that advertising off of the cost of capital, I mean, it matters, but if I can get a loan from an alternative lender today for, 2% more interest, I don't care. Like, it's worth the convenience. You know what I mean? And so even if some are like predatory, it's just like, where business owners are in a bind, they don't have the luxury of saying, no, I'm going to go to the one with the lowest price for capital. Like, that's not a decision maker anymore. It doesn't sway businesses anymore. So I mean, I for one see in our first phase of collaboration and creating tools for banks to collaborate is loan syndication, and having it all in one place and being able to share a deal just like VCs do, just like anyone does. I think it's very simple to do, and a straightforward way to collaborate without losing sight of what you're doing internally, and still bring more money to your balance sheet, get a larger ROI in return, decrease some of that risk, that credit concentration risk, and, work together. And that is how infrastructure starts to form and unify. That is how money starts to move freely, and small businesses have access, and a reasonable amount of access. Not just one bank will give me a loan. or only if I go to Capital Collab do I have a chance of getting a loan, right? I've been banking with USAA for over 15 years. If they ever told me I couldn't get a loan from them, I would immediately move my account because what are you talking about? I've been putting money in this account forever, since a child. So I think banks, they've got that reckoning, and they are taking the steps to move. It's just, it takes time, and by 2030 we'll definitely be there. And I really believe we will have diverted from credit scores being the primary source of data to determine if I can give you capital or not.
And how do you see that in the fintech space? Because there's a couple ways that you can do that as a bank, right? You can do that. You build it all in house. You can do forward flows, JVs with the alternatives. Or you can just stay away from it, right? And just say, we do things the way we do them, and we're the cheapest, and we like real estate only or whatever, right? And so you'll have that. But, talking with some of these bank presidents and chief credit officers and the CTOs of this world that have to make these decisions and adopt some of this stuff that they're going to have to adopt, what mindsets have you seen in the ones that get it and can understand it? They understand their role in it too, right? I think understanding their role in the self-awareness of who's responsible for what, and can I trust the part that I'm out in control of? And banks love control, right? And they kind of have to because of the regulation. But where do you see that in those two things, right? So I kind of threw two things at you, but one from the mentality of what that, to make it the most successful, for them to move into a digitized world and AI and automation within, because the banks it's unfortunate because the banks do have the best product for the most part from a cost of capital and sustainability for a business, SBA loans, like talk fintech, like we did, I think 280 PPP loans. We didn't have a setup for PPP. We literally, because we're a fintech, we partnered with a fintech bank. Within 2 weeks we were up and live. And the bank, and we did more than most of our banks, like those smaller, credit unions and regional banks. And so, talk through that. So talk through that, the mentality of the team and what it needs to be, and what it's not, when it doesn't work out, and then also just how they're thinking on those different ways of getting into fintech. What are you seeing?
I'll speak on the ways they're getting in, since I have all these conversations with customers. But I will say I have not had a conversation with a CEO or VP above of a bank that said this is just the way it's going to be done. We have no plans for. They all are thinking about this. So it's really just the incumbents. When we came into the market, I don't know if they didn't. No shade. I don't know if they thought it through. I don't know if they did enough customer discovery. I don't know if they have limited resources or they're focused on this one thing. But there hasn't really been anything, not to toot our own horn. There really hasn't been.
I've seen it all. I've seen a lot of what's out there, and you're right.
There just hasn't been a lot of opportunity to make this shift without building in-house. Just very hard. I'm not a tech company. I'm a bank that has a million priorities, and setting up a engineering department, IT department, and security and compliance department specifically for technology is not something that I can do, right? Not for a loan, right? So it's top of mind, especially since COVID, and they're no longer kicking the can down the road for the next CEO to come along and fix the problem. It has to be fixed. The government is pressuring them to get rid of credit scores. There's pressure all around. It's very hard to be a bank CEO right now. So I think it's coming. There's going to be just this large transformation. It's already happening, but it's kind of going to be like AI, how we've always kind of had AI, and then all of a sudden one day ChatGPT drops and the entire world is changed.
AI. Okay.
I think we're going to see that same type of shift with finance. I don't know exactly what's going to be like that trigger moment or that canon moment. I think for the recognition, it was COVID. Like, oh shit, like this is real. We have to change this. And then SVB, Silicon Valley Bank happened, and then it was like, now what? So these other macroeconomic shocks keep kind of happening that like make people like, I don't know. And doing the, double Dutch, like, let's see what happens. Let's see what they do. But eventually it's going to take just a strong segment of people that just move in the direction, and then everyone follows suit. It's like this migration of financial institutions, digitizing, modernizing, and the entire experience for money movement just like flips. And guess who's going to do that?
You too.
No. Yes.
Alaia.
Yeah.
And her golden gloves.
Alaia's going to do it.
She's going to box them out. If you don't agree with Alaia, the gloves are coming off.
That's funny.
Or on, whatever it
And
is.
I think to add to that, I think we've seen excitement from people to adopt and to move and change, but there's a reason that banks are slow to change. They're changing a risk model, something that's definitely necessary when you're adopting these new technologies, is hard to do. It has so many approvers and so much regulation. So the bank CEOs are beholden to not just their board and their staff and everyone personally, but all the regulators, everyone else. It's very hard for them to make shifts to their core business functions. So I think we've been really mindful of that, of how can we craft this in a way that's not going to trigger these things, whether that's not doing the actual loan decisioning all the way through inside the platform. That gets around a lot of regulations, making it easier for them to adopt, not having to tie into their core systems, like doing all these things that make it easier for them to say yes and for us to get in the door and help them innovate without them having to, like she said, change your compliance, change everything else. That's just very expensive and very slow.
Yeah, there's never been a way for them to just kind of limp in somehow,
Yeah.
right? And you guys are making that available to like, how can I limp in and start, but not have to do it all at once?
Revamp top to
Our,
bottom.
our real strategy is how can we become a part of the day-to-day operations for almost every department in the bank. Let's start there.
I think it needs to be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, being around it as because I ask you these questions, right? Of 5 years ago, they all said that same thing, though, right? They all were like, "Oh, we're an innovative. We're tech. We're moving forward. Yeah, you guys."
Innovative.
They would say and they would want certain things.
Yeah.
When it comes to actually implementing and adopting an adoption across the bank wide and all the different divisions, that I think I still feel is a little, I want, but am I willing to cater and willing to give up, things that are maybe in the gray areas? It's hard to do. I get it. I would not want to be a bank president or CEO.
Yeah.
No.
It's hard.
Me neither.
Or
Respect.
Yeah.
Respect. Seriously.
Yeah, for sure. And I got a lot of good friends that are, and they're sticking it out. But, and I see that with them too, is like they want change. They want, they don't like when business owners apply and get declined. I mean, that's no good for anybody. It's not good for Treasury. It's not good for anything. Like you said, if you can't give me money, I'm going to just go somewhere that can give me money. Right. I mean, outside of that, as a small business, there's not much value outside of that.
Yeah.
So,
And it's expensive for them to hold money. I mean, that is a death shot for a bank. You need to have that money circulating and in movement, and they're still having problems deploying it to small businesses because of the regulations, because of their risk models, because of their underwriting processes. So cash that should be getting deployed isn't, which is hopefully something we can help with.
Yeah. And yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, I want to wrap it up here. There's so much stuff that I mean, like we could dive into like 5 other shows on just like things we talked about. Maybe we will, but
series.
this needs to be talked about. I think people need to be aware. People can put pressure on their banks, right? I mean, if you're a bigger borrower in a bank,
absolutely.
There's stuff you can do too, of kind of moving some of that across. But I want you guys to leave everyone with one nugget. And I'll let you think about it while I keep talking.
Oh, no.
But one nugget that you could leave with somebody who is in your guys' shoes, coming out, athletes, they want to do big things in the world, but they're just being where you've been, right? What are some of those things that held you up in some of those waiting moments? I feel like a lot of people, it's just go, right? And so what are some of the things that kind of held you guys back in certain areas of your life where it's like pause, but then you had to make a decision, right? So what was one of those points where you like, it was weighing on you, and then you're like, okay, I did it and it worked out. Like
in my entire life?
Yeah.
Oh.
I can speak to this, I think.
Go ahead.
I can speak to this.
Made so many mistakes.
I'll leave it open for you.
I think, and this is like so cliche, but leaving corporate or leaving anything safe or leaving something that gives you some sense of security is always hard. So I think my nugget would be one, if you have this thing that you're just sitting and you're working on, you're passionate about, one, don't just sit in your little bubble, get no feedback, and then try to go launch it into the world. That was a big reason we scaled so quickly, was that we got out of our little bubble and we talked to everyone that we needed to talk to. So one, do that. But then at some point, you just have to have such an unshakable belief in yourself and that the universe is conspiring to give you everything that you want, that you just say, fuck it, and you just go. And it's scary, but if you just move forward and don't look back, I promise that's what brings you everything you want. But even some business decisions have been like that. Like, should we do this, make this pivot? Should we give up on this, core idea that we love that was part of our baby? And we had to just do that and say, let's go.
Circle back.
Yeah, let's go.
Love it. Love it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, man, I don't know how to follow that. Yes, everything she said, same. I think one of the biggest decisions as an entrepreneur, where I internally struggled a lot before I made a decision, was actually showing up as myself, like dressing the way I want to dress, being openly out queer. I mean, obviously you can see what color I am. I didn't have to, there was no way to hide that, but just knowing all of the barriers it could create, all the bias inherent or, known, whatever it could create. And, having conversations with Alaia, even just like, all right, I'm going to go pitch this audience. Should I wear something else? What should I do with my hair? Do you think that I'm going to be off-putting? Do you think that they're not going to trust me? And those are things that I have to think about, with every single conversation, especially when money is involved, so a customer or investor. And then finally just saying, you know what, fuck it. It's me or it's me. And if you want to talk to Alaia because she's going to have on a blouse.
Not a blouse.
And have her nails done.
This is a very blouse.
Game, set, match blouses. Then cool, we have someone. You want to talk to Nick because you feel comfortable talking to Nick? Fine, but I'm going to continue to show up as me. I am the CEO. I'm confident in that. I'm confident in my abilities for sure. I think I know a lot about a lot. And I definitely know the most about this company and can speak to it. And I know that everything we've put into it has been a direct representation of who I am and how I want to leave the world behind. So if you want to talk about Cypher, you're going to talk to me, and I'm going to have on a hat, from a KC hat and some jeans or some sweats. I'm like Mark Zuckerberg, black T-shirt and jeans every single day. But, I'm not going to be in a blazer and whatever else. I don't know. Definitely not going to have on the investor jacket.
If you walked in a full boot, if you walked in looking like Alaia, I'd be like, okay, come on.
What's happening?
What is this?
What is happening?
What is this?
I love the authenticity.
Yeah.
I love you guys. I love what you guys are doing. I appreciate you. Just that, what you just said, it's a whole topic in itself. So I appreciate you guys. And that's a wrap. We're out of time.
Woo-hoo!
We get some darts in
it.
real quick and see how good you really are. And then non-tipsy. I'll give you that asterisk. We're going to put a lot of the links and show notes and everything like that. Maybe even some ways if people wanted to invest. I don't know. But at least we're going to put some links in the show notes, and we're going to put a way to reach out to you guys. What is the best way to connect with Cypher or you, Jannae, or Alaia? The
best way to connect with us is through the website. You click that form or book a demo. We'll talk to you. It goes straight to our calendars. Find us on LinkedIn for sure. We drop a lot of thought pieces, think pieces, think pieces.
Whichever.
That may piss some people off, but
that's what
gotta keep it interesting.
It's real. It's
gotta
authentic.
keep it interesting.
It is.
I love it. I keep doing what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having us.